No advantage over each other.
We should see them start any moment here.
Yeah, Game Boy preparing with some good NES skiing warm-up. I forget the name of that game. I can see the label in my head. I think it's like Winter Games or something. Here we go.
So we've had a few bets on Cursed Belt being in the throne room already. We'll see if anyone wins that in the chat.
So throne room, we have Stones of Sunlight, a big bag of gold.
And the key.
And of course a key. Why am I waiting for that one? Starting with no spells, so we will just be jumping out the door and seeing what's outside.
And very low strength. So this appears to be the kind of seed where both players are going to want to look for a town early on. And sure enough...
I saw some swamp.
Uh-oh.
Sure, this is Mr. Homes on the right?
Yes.
Yeah, so they're both saving. No surprise.
Safety save on the off chance there's a town close by. You can reset if you die and keep your money. And it's not quite surrounded by swamp. They do have some area to walk around there.
So it looks like they're both opting to fight a few things.
I'm kind of surprised for both players to see that it's a town searching situation, and they start searching and then abruptly stop and both start fighting.
Maybe they were simply hoping for a town to be a little closer to home than it appears to be. Holmes getting some nice low rolls by the Drakey on its hurt spell, so he's going to kill 2 of those quickly and be up to level 2.
Mr. Holmes gets a level with 8 power. Oh wow, 27 MP and a new spell, and it's hurt more.
Wow, so what a decision there to actually build for a level and get the exact best spell in this situation.
So I have to assume he will probably walk right back into the castle, heal up the MP, and probably go on a little adventure, see if he can make anything out of that money he has.
Very impressive level 2 for sure. That completely changes the outlook of the seed already. With that early hurt more spell, we're going to see those first handful of levels just fly right by.
Yeah, I'm just surprised both players took that route when it looked like the right thing to do was to search for a town. I guess they just encompassed a really small radius, and I guess that they at least wanted to see what the enemies were nearby. But I've found that a lot of the races I've lost have been where I try to build, near home, and other people just find a town right away and get the hand axe. And it's such a huge boost to get in the first 5 minutes, even 10 minutes, that it just ends up not mattering if you're behind with no grinding during that time. You can catch right up so fast.
So to be fair, at this point, with an early hurt more, the hand axe isn't quite as useful early on, but it would still have its benefits in some spots.
Most of the enemies that they're going to be wanting to fight with their hurt more spell aren't going to be magic resistant, so a weapon is fairly inconsequential for the time being.
So Mr. Holmes with 3 levels at once because of hurt more gets double-digit everything.
And he also learns the heal spell, so that'll be a lot more useful for the exploring as well.
Boy, they started with such low strength and nothing nearby. I thought this was going to be a long seed, but in 2 battles, I've been proven very wrong about that.
Yeah, their fortunes have changed very quickly here. Still haven't really gotten any exploration done, so still a lot of game to go yet. And with heal and hurt more in tow, shouldn't be too much of a risk to venture from the castle and try to start finding some towns, caves, and so forth. And so far, both players are heading in relatively the same direction, and both dying almost in sync. Game Boy gunned down by an AK-47 and Holmes squashed by a golem. Looks like blue dragons have heal more. They're not going to be a popular enemy to fight later on.
Certainly not, or early on.
So Mr. Holmes gets another 20 hit points in his leveling up, and also got Heal More, and I believe Radiant or something with an R.
There are a lot of spells that start with R.
Have to take a closer look at his spell list next time he opens it up. It was Radiant, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, just getting unlucky with those high-end attacks from the Armored Knights. He has enough HP to survive with 43, but getting a 46 against him.
It's a statistically improbable amount of damage to take from an attack. That's definitely on the high, if not highest end of his damage curve.
I only ever see attacks that high from red dragons. I've literally never seen one from an Armored Knight that I can think of. Unless I was like at level 1 with no armor, that kind of thing. But in a situation where I'm actually trying to fight them, that's amazing.
They are certainly possible to defeat with that Hurt More spell, though. They're more likely to defeat than the Blue Dragon is right now. Just because the Hurt More has a much higher accuracy on the Armored Knight than it does on the Blue Dragon.
That and the Blue Dragon with the Heal More. That makes for no good time today.
Yeah, there's not much point in trying to beat one of those right now.
Well, I have to say, I mean...
full if you are lucky enough to land the spell.
Yeah. But aside from the Blue Dragons, you know, the Star Wyvern and the Werewolf and the Armored Knight, they're quite friendly for learning Hurt More right away.
Yeah, I was going to say, in stark contrast to the longest seed in history on Sunday, this map is very Hurt More friendly.
Yeah, that was definitely a slog card.
And then new spell for Holmes, which is Hurt. Somehow that might not get quite as much use, but that's okay. Moving along. He also did get a big HP boost from that.
Seeing a bit of separation in direction of exploration now. So depending on what both or either players end up finding, could be very difficult to keep track of who's behind, ahead, in the coming next 20 minutes to a half hour or so, which is what I think is probably a reasonable guess for how long it'll take them both to explore the map and find everything that they need. Having the ability to heal yourself and the ability to fight most monsters with that Hurt More spell is going to make this a fairly quick seed, unless the stats say otherwise.
So Game Boy is the first to find a town. He's in Cantlin, and if he's going to buy anything, I think he's looking for chainmail before he commits to anything. Defense is the only real thing worth upgrading right now whenever we hurt one.
Chainmail is definitely one of the highest bang for buck purchases that you can make defensively.
If he doesn't find it, I figure he'll at least buy the small shield on his way out.
Well, he's picked up the dragon scale.
The grave.
And Game Boy dons the dragon scale.
And it looks like he's just going to stock up on items for the time being. Holmes trying to escape from this blue dragon, but no such luck. You have to think, though, that he's going to walk right back to that cave and try it again.
Yeah, 3 free chests is very, very tempting, especially early game. Could be a key and could open everything up.
Could be very game-changing.
Or it could be 2
Or a key or the sword would be the ideal find this early in the game.
So people in chat are already debating how long the seed is going to be. Basically, between an hour and a half, that kind of zone depends entirely on how much they gain in stats between levels 10 and 15. So if they're ready to go at a lower level, it can be closer to an hour, and if they have to build until level 18 or higher, it'll be an hour and a half or longer. That kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd say I agree with that estimate. And we have Game Boy attempting to fight the blue dragon again. Did he forget that it had heal more? Or is he just thinking it's better for him to try and kill it than it is to run away at this low agility level?
Well, to be fair, if the blue dragon starts with max HP or uses heal more once, he is going to have enough that he'll be out of heal more range after the first hurt more. But again, that's a lot to ask for. To nail 2 hurt mores, first of all, against a blue dragon is a lot to ask for. There's, like, every time I look, there's just fantastic enemies for hurt more. This is going to be a very, very fast seed, no question.
Yeah, we're just looking at a Wolf Lord and a Druid Lord simultaneously. Those are both free. And both worth about 50 experience, which is a fairly significant amount in the mid-game.
I didn't see how far MisterHomes got in the grave, but it looks like he is going back to those 3 chests, so we'll find out what's there.
He died pretty close to before them last time, and now he gets to them, he finds an herb, he finds some gold, and he finds a torch, so nothing incredibly useful, unfortunately for him.
Though on the positive side, that is 3 chests that he doesn't have to worry about finding as he continues to search for quest items in Erdrick's sword.
So as both players gain so much freedom over the map, they become aware that the next big and important goal, obviously, is to find keys to open up all the remaining chests on the map. No sign of Remolder yet, no magic keys in free chests.
So mathematically speaking, their best bet would be the mountain cave. We also could potentially find one in the shrine, or the tablet cave. Other than that, I believe those are all the free chests because we've already covered the grave and the Stones of Sunlight cave.
Right.
And just to the south, MisterHomes finds a town. And it's Hawksness. He'll definitely check out what the monster is over here.
Yeah, this is another great spot. You can kill at least half the enemies in or half the permanent boss enemies in Hawksness with Hurtmore, and he's got enough HP to survive an attack, so there are plenty of possibilities for a win here, and there could be Erdrick's armor under there.
It's certainly worth a try, and the enemy is an Axe Knight, so that is just completely free with that Hurtmore spell.
The easiest result.
And he finds the fairy flute. Not so exciting, but it could have its uses in the game.
Yeah, not what he was looking for, but we have seen enough golems on the overworld that it at least guarantees you an escape as you're trying to explore. And could come into play far later on down the road if the mini-boss in front of Dragonlord does end up being a golem.
MisterHomes with discipline, not doing any building on the Axe Knight, although, to be fair, he did only have 1 Hurtmore left. He might just want to stay safe, but I think he's more focused on staying ahead in map exploration while maintaining, I mean, just the fact that there's so many things to kill on this particular map, it's just working out well for him.
Absolutely. I agree with you that he shouldn't do that. In a lot of these Hurtmore seeds, it can be very tempting to grind preemptively if you find a really abusable Hawkness tile like that. But until you've actually explored the map in its entirety and found all the items, it's more productive to keep looking around because you will still keep building experience as you explore.
Indeed. Yeah, the fact that he has no, other than, I guess, the Stones of Sunlight were in the throne room, but other than that, no key items. It's very, very important to get the keys as soon as possible. Did he see that cave, I wonder? Oh, it's probably Garen's grave.
Yeah, I believe that was the grave.
Yeah, he was just there.
And he does find the fun police.
They exist, and they have sleep and hurt more, so they're going to be very fun to grind on if the situation arises, if they get stop spell at the right time.
Fun police at least have a clear weakness this go around.
Yeah, you can always expect to be sent back by them, but actually gaining the knowledge that you can use the stop spell on them, that's actually a very good thing to learn early on.
MisterHomes has just had a great smooth start, and you know we talk about how little of a difference a few hundred experience here and there makes, but we're gradually entering the middle game, we're past the beginning, and 500 can be fairly significant, so I would say MisterHomes has a little bit of a cushion right now.
And it's not just the experience advantage that can be pretty big too, there's also an exploration advantage to consider, though. In this case, I would say both players are fairly even in that department.
Yes.
Though MisterHomes has found more locations, he's still lacking the exact same necessary items that Game Boy is, as his finds have largely been underwhelming.
Yeah, so if, for example, you look at Mr. Holmes having found Garen's grave, well, he couldn't get down to the bottom 2 chests, and if there's even one key item down there, then the 2 players are still essentially equal. We'll just have to wait and see.
Yep. Though we are seeing a somewhat alarming trend in the strength growth so far. Haven't seen much of any strength growth whatsoever since level 5. Strength generally being the key stat where you're going to need a mid-80 number in order to defeat the last boss, and we're light years away from that. Still very early in the race, but around level 10, you're typically going to be mid-50s for strength on average in any given seed.
Right. So a lack of strength growth could certainly be a late-game equalizer for a player who's behind if he happens to, for example, find the key items first and get to a grind spot first, a really good grind spot. Obviously, we've already found one in that axe thing. So we know that one exists. And Mr. Holmes just finding armored knights everywhere. It's grind heaven right now. He'll get to level 11.
The towns and the caves.
They're all come together on a nice peninsula in the south.
I do sort of hope for that kind of thing. If it's a really far away peninsula that both players kind of have to fight to get to. Make for an interesting seed. I really like seeing new things.
I think the nice thing about these randomizers is that you do see something completely new every time you play.
It blows my mind. I mean, we know this game so thoroughly, and yet there are always new things cropping up, new situations.
Yeah, it's particularly impressive for this game because it is very simple at its core, but you see a whole lot of very unique situations and a lot of clever decisions being made just because of what the seed can present to you at any given time.
So Mr. Holmes again with the writings.
Matching large shields in Cantlin.
Yeah. Mr. Holmes with the right instinct to bulk up on defense first, given that he has hurt more and that the map is very hurt more friendly. But he... Oh, I thought he was going to click on the broadsword, but he actually doesn't have enough money.
Broadsword, never a bad purchase, 20 attack power. Really hard to argue with that until you find Erdrick's sword.
He took a very long walk out of Cantlin. I can only assume he had something else on his mind, like stopping at another shop on the way out, but he changed his mind ultimately.
He probably just remembered what he was doing, maybe? Or he wanted the shopkeeper to not be checking Facebook in the corner. Probably just trying to respawn his location.
I feel like I was the only player who actually did that, who exited Cantlin to get that location respawned. And I know Mr. Holmes has seen me do it, so he might have caught that from me. I like the idea.
He's picking up on your tactics.
So yeah, the gap in experience between them has remained fairly significant, just over 500 right now. It's not a game closer, and of course we're still very early on. We're going to see a lot of dynamics change as players gradually enter caves that might not have favorable battles as they search for those key items.
So I believe Game Boy is just north of the grave. I think if he just goes further down, he'll find it. So I'll probably explore that, find there's not much in there for him.
I'm assuming that's what we'll see here.
There we go.
Yep, and that's exactly what he's going to do.
So Mr. Holmes does end up purchasing the copper sword as well?
Well, for how inexpensive it is, it's not a bad purchase. It'll at least let him conserve MP against some of the enemies that are worth fighting, but not necessarily worth tossing a hurt more at anymore.
Yeah.
Like, say, Metal Scorpion, Wolf, something in that tier you can probably fight. Just slap around with that copper sword and save MP a bit.
Yeah, the mid-level enemies.
The good news for both, well, the good news, it's a great seed all around, but both players have very, very high HP already, and that leans towards a favorable early battle against the Dragon Lord, which means they're going to need less strength than normal. And they've been getting less strength than normal, so they're still a long way off, but just a couple large gains, and we could see a mid-teens finish.
Well, the
really high
MP is through the roof also at this point. They're approaching 100 MP now at level 11.
Yeah.
I believe MisterHomes did just get 9 attack power from getting to level 11, so hopefully we'll start to see a few more decent gains on the attack side of things.
Depending on who you talk to, depending on what you want to see.
Yeah.
I don't know, I seem to remember a recent seed where some people just couldn't get attack power in their seed at all, and it seemed to last a little time.
Just a little.
When could that have been?
I think that was just an urban legend. But yes, exactly. As you said, it really depends on who you ask. I see MTI in chat cheering for that 0 power. I love it.
I sort of wonder if McGrew would consider an option to change the gradient of growth for things like strength, so that people who like more challenging seeds, where you really have to think your way out of tough situations, would actually have that option. That'd be kind of neat. I didn't even think of that possibility until just now.
So that cave that we did see before that Mr. Holmes died by actually wasn't the grave, it's the mountain cave, so we're going to see a lot more chests upcoming here.
Well, I think the option for more streamlined character growth does exist if you go into the more in-depth flags in the randomizer. Like, if you don't just go with the standard UFN, you can pick how customizable you want a few options to be, whether or not to generate a new overworld. I mean, the options are there, but it's really hard to argue with the UFN settings. They really do work well in most cases.
It really has been amazingly balanced, and there are like, honestly, the seeds that are virtually unstartable are so rare. That really works out well.
And we have Holmes finding the Staff of Rain inside the mountain cave.
So it is another key cave. It also looks like it has good enemies, so Game Boy won't be slowed down by that issue when he gets to the mountain cave.
And he's also defeated the Axe Knight and Hawksness now, and he's gonna... it looks like he's grinding the Axe Knight just a little bit here.
I figured at least one of them would be tempted. Meanwhile, Mr. Holmes walking... I wonder if he's... Oh no, he's gonna cast Hurt More here. I thought maybe he'd set up a gold grind. I didn't check too closely if there was a silver shield encampment, but probably not.
There are no keys now, so a gold grind is impossible yet.
Needs
Oh,
keys.
that's right.
So, there are only two chests left where we might be able to find a key, you know, without needing other keys to get into. Unless, of course, they can backdoor into Gowdenham through the swamp cave. That's also another chance. Or into the castle to buy them, but that's not a chest. So Game Boy might stumble upon, yep. Game Boy has found the mountain cave, though he's thinking... I assume he's thinking what we thought, that might be the grave that he was already in. And she walked right by it.
I don't think he'd confuse the cave locations on the overworld. One was in a desert and one was in like a half-plain swamp kind of area.
Oh, maybe he was just looking around.
Probably checking for a quick town because he's really low on MP.
Yeah, good point.
And you can see the experience gap already narrowing, very insignificant time. And Mr. Holmes finds coal. And again, there are only 2 more spots worth the armor could be now. So he has good odds, and it's the token.
It's the token.
But that's interesting. He's got all the vital items, aside from, of course, the armor and sword.
Mm-hmm.
But he has
knows
no
for
Camlin,
sure
so
that
he
the
does know
armor's
that
on
he
the
needs...
map, though.
Yeah, he knows that we need Camlin for the coordinates to get the armor. Sword's a little more difficult to find, but we will get there.
We're not yet to the point where it's more likely that the sword will be in Sharlock, so we'll have to wait and see if that's a possibility.
We're quickly approaching that point, though.
Very quickly.
There's 7
Just
chests
a
in
matter of
Sherlock,
finding
and
As soon as they find
think all we
keys, this
have
whole place
left
is blown wide open.
is the 3 in Garenham, the 2 at the bottom of the grave, and the chest in Rimwald there. And then I guess the treasury. Okay, never mind. There's still a lot of chests left.
Yeah. There's also a really good chance by now that the swamp cave will lead into something good.
That's true. We are running out of overworld locations for it to take you into. What's also entirely possible is that the swamp cave connects Tantagel and Garenham.
That's true.
Yeah. That's always fun when that happens. MisterHomes find a nice little bridge that takes you to a little desert peninsula. It's beautiful. I cry a tear of joy.
Nice spot for a vacation, I suppose.
Oh, totally. Nice beach spot. And I believe that's a new cave that MisterHomes has seen on the corner of the screen. But first you'll hit level 12.
So they're asking about who's in the lead in chat. MisterHomes just got to level 12 first, but again, the experience lead is very small. He did just find the Jerk Cave, so he's got the Rainbow Drop, but I already talked about how the Mountain Cave is a relatively good place for enemies, so when Game Boy gets there, he's not really going to be slowing down getting the Staff of Rain. And the token is in Coal. Game Boy will find that eventually as well.
Yeah, Cole was just north of the Mountain Cave. I'm almost surprised that Game Boy didn't find the town, since he did wander a few tiles north of Mountain Cave to try and find a quick spot to top off on MP. If he walked just a little further north, he would have found it.
As he just did.
Yes, he's back there now.
Yes.
So he's going to pick up his token here, presumably stay at the inn, and then probably have a look-see in the old Mountain Cave.
Meanwhile, MisterHomes found, I believe he just found the bottom of the swamp cave, so he'll be walking up to the top of that. He could potentially be getting some keys here, see what's in Garenham maybe, or find another spot on the map.
Again, I really like his odds for Tantagel or Garenham exit.
Yeah.
I'm expecting it at this point. It's so unlikely, like all that's left is the Tablet Cave and the Stones of Sunlight Cave.
Yeah, we have a
for
Garenham.
Overworld. Now, it is possible. I think he's going to get into one of those locations.
Which he just did. So he finds some gold, he finds some wings, and a cursed belt. Awesome. I mean, that's not what he was looking for.
Still no keys.
He can check for a silver shield now. A lot of these seeds where you get keys late, and you have to find a lot of things. Of course, MisterHomes doesn't have to find a lot. He's already got the Rainbow Drop, but he will have to get the armor and search for the sword. But a lot of these seeds where you get keys late come down to managing all the things you have to do in the end, and that includes a gold grind for the silver shield, if one is available. So it'll be interesting to see how the players manage that situation. Still, we've reached the half-hour mark with mid-levels, and no one's found a key.
Yeah, so unless one of the two chests remaining has one, we just have to... So, we'll see what they come across.
Interesting to note that MisterHomes is now stuck on the other side of Garenham. He cannot go back to where he was. So hopefully he knows how to handle the split map situation.
Mm-hmm. He has found Sherlock right by Garenhan.
Always nice to have a town right next to the castle.
Yeah, that can be really good for late game grinding. But of course, I do expect both players to grind in Hawksness on this seed.
Mm-hmm. Right now I have to wonder if Holmes knows or remembers that blue dragons have heal more because he's trying to defeat one right now.
If he might remember and still figure that 2 Hurtmores will break through, yeah, he got it there. So, not all of them are going to be starting with such heal more as an option after the first Hurtmore. So it'll work out a lot of the time.
I wonder if Holmes will take the ultimate gamble and just walk right into Sherlock in hopes of finding the sword.
Well, he does have Hurtmore. He can take a peek. But, you know, in terms of finding the sword, he doesn't have a key, so he would only be checking one chest. That would be an interesting thing to see in a race like this, where they're trying to maximize their speed. I don't think it would be the most optimal option.
So knowing him and knowing the way that he likes to calculate the chests and go with odds over that, if he does check the treasury and it's not there, I assume he might try and dive into Sherlock to look for it, just because of odds of the sword being in the chest and Sherlock being much greater than one of the other 2 unfound locations.
I would agree with that now that he's been through Grinham as well.
So I suppose the issue now is we must find Remolder.
And looks like Game Boy is right behind Holmes with the back door into Garenham. Very similar paths taken by both players so far.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Not too often that you see both players explore the map in an almost identical fashion, with Game Boy finding everything that Holmes has found, maybe just half a minute later. Very, very close race right now.
Mr. Holmes going back to Garinham, maybe he's low on MP. Yeah, he is. So I have to figure that, you know, Mr. Holmes' experience lead has widened a bit, and I have to figure by this point that if he manages to find keys first or around the same time as Game Boy, he's going to have a very significant advantage, and it's going to be hard to overcome.
Whoever makes it to Rimmeldar first, wherever it is definitely going to be favored, at least for a little while there, with how close everything else is between both of them right now.
Right, so the most interesting situation will arise from Game Boy finding the keys just a couple minutes before Mr. Holmes, and then maybe their experience will even out and it'll be really close in the end. Let's see what happens.
Still some work to do once we get those keys, though. We know that the armor's on the world map there. Depending on the coordinates that we get, we might see some very interesting counts, or we might see the princess, or we might see both, depending on both players' level of confidence in counting out a larger number.
Mr. Holmes has taken advantage of the red dragon with all the spells, cast stop spell on him, and he gets to fight him. It does take a little while, seeing as they're still kind of weak in strength, but he does gain a level from that.
That's my kind of level with that big agility boost there.
And meanwhile, Game Boy found the shrine, and I believe there was a torch inside there. So that takes one more chest off the list that could potentially have a key in it.
Yeah, and Holmes is going to open that very same chest.
Amazing, they're still on the same path.
watched a lot of matches in this tournament, but I don't think I've watched one where the exploration has been just as identical as it has been throughout this one so far.
Yeah, it's surprising.
Holmes looking a little disoriented there for a moment, trying to figure out where he was.
Yeah, I don't think MisterHomes maps out his locations. Well, certainly not to the degree that I do. I'm not sure if he uses a map at all. I heard him say a couple weeks ago that he never uses maps. But...
I don't believe he does. But he does find another town.
And it's the most useless town in the game. Of course, he'll check for a silver shield.
I would actually argue against Brecconary being the most useless town. There are a few perks to it, though you don't see them come into play terribly often. If it's, say, a seed where you don't get repel until level 16, you might want to pick up some fairy water. If you accidentally put on that curse belt, that's the place you gotta find to get rid of it after all. It certainly has its uses. Not the most useful town, absolutely not, but I wouldn't call it the most.
So Game Boy has definitely found Remolder just now. He will be purchasing some keys right away. And that will open up the rest of the game to us.
There it is. And I lost track of where MisterHomes was relative to Game Boy, so I'm not sure if he's close.
Game Boy went roughly northwest from Garenham, whereas Holmes went north and rediscovered the other section of map that they were on prior to going through the swamp cave.
So Holmes is a little further off now.
Alright, so we've got an equalizing factor in play. Game Boy might use this opportunity to find everything else faster and get to a grind spot earlier. And equalize experience for a really close ending. Mm-hmm. Which is always what I hope for in races.
If I'm Game Boy in this race, I'd be trying to get to Cantlin as soon as possible, because I know that I need those coordinates to get that armor, and the armor is definitely the most important piece of gear, I would say.
Well, sure, he did use the wings to go back home, and I don't blame him for checking the treasury right away.
Yeah, gonna check what's below again. Probably either the Tablet Cave or Stones of Sunlight Cave. So one more chest.
We already found the Stones of Sunlight Cave, actually.
It has to be Tablet Cave. There's nothing else left it could be.
So I suppose by process of elimination, what I said in the chat actually doesn't apply, because a key could be in the Tablet Cave, but you can't access it without keys.
Mm-hmm. So if the sword's not in Tablet Cave, we know for sure that it's in Sherlock, because we've seen the stuff now.
See, both players could actually forget about the two chests in Garen's grave, and it could be down there. But what I think we're going to see happen is both players will go to Sherlock and play the odds, looking for the sword there first.
Mm-hmm. I think that's the correct play to make. But yeah, it's entirely possible that they forget about those chests, because I know I certainly did just now.
And the Tablet Cave just does give more gold, and because he doesn't live outside yet, he will have to walk out.
And I can't help but agree with chat's assessment that gradually Game Boy is looking at an edge right now, having the keys despite his experience deficit. It's a very small deficit, and he's going to be able to get himself into a grind position earlier.
Yeah, I have to assume he will be jumping out to Cantlin to get the armor at this point.
Looks like he's making a beeline right forward right now. If anyone in chat wants to predict what the coordinates are going to be, now's the time.
Give us your guesses. I don't know. 25 south and 13 west? I couldn't tell you.
I think in my last race, they were really close by. I think it was 18 south, 17 west. That was nice. Pretty wide open map, too. Well, that must have been 2 races ago, because my race on Sunday was not wide open, and it was not a direct walk.
Some interesting guesses in the chat so far. I think I already see a few that aren't possible based on the shape of this map.
I think the closest we've ever seen it is 3 steps away from Tantagel. I'd love to see it 1 step away. That'd be hilarious. Especially if it's the armor and it's just sitting there the whole game.
Yeah, just sitting outside the front door to the castle, and it's like, how did I miss this? I walk in and out of here all the time. See Game Boy reaching level 13 on his trek back to Cantland.
So in my continued optimism for a close race, I have to figure that, assuming, there's from Mulder already, so it's not that big a gap between the time they found keys, and I have to figure, because the map has been so good for grinding, that MisterHomes getting the armor a little bit later than Game Boy, getting into Sharlock a little later, I think we have good odds for a really equal-looking race and a really close finish.
It's very, very neck and neck right now. There is no way to argue anything but.
And just knowing MisterHomes, I do believe there is a chance that he might not check the tablet cave in Tantagel.
And we've got 90 south, 16 west. So I think it's fairly likely we're going to see a couple of princesses here.
Yeah, I think so. I think personally I would do it without, but it can be a big time saver for players who tend to walk slower, finding the coordinates, or just having trouble with a windy map or things like that.
I sure feel like I haven't seen Gwen in a while.
The guesses in chat now, because we got to hand out some winners' prizes here. Looks like Zarnax was the closest on the north-south side with guessing 70 south. And it looks like I was the only one to pick
Zarnax
west.
made 2 guesses. His second one was almost exact if you reverse the south and west.
Oh yeah, there it is.
West.
I guess I just had to scroll down a bit.
I got the directions right when I mentioned 18 south, 17 west, but that wasn't really a guess. I can't take credit for that.
So MisterHomes does decide to check out the tablet cave. There will be money. He will not be that happy. So no time lost for Game Boy versus that.
Nope, the pattern of very similar exploration continues.
No outside spell yet, so a long walk out, but you can't resist checking for the sword in that chest. Even though it looks like both players are going to get to at least level 16, it's just so hard to resist the possibility that the sword's there and getting it as soon as possible. So yeah, barring a sword in Garen's grave, one of those 2 remaining chests, we will see the sword in Sharlock.
I'm curious if either player will think to check the grave. If somebody does, then and somebody else doesn't, and it is there, it could be a huge game changer.
Yeah, if one player doesn't check the grave and goes into Sharlock, and then, they don't find it downstairs, they're going to trek back to the other chest, and that'll take some time. Not very much necessarily, but...
And Game Boy made a very heroic attempt to count out those coordinates, but the shape of the map is just far too inconvenient for that, it seems. Too much water and mountains in the way. Or is he just going back to a reference point and going to try again? I'm not too sure just yet. He's still counting in some capacity anyway.
Game Boy is the runner that pretty much is able to race the least, or has done the fewest races out of the most active players lately. So as a result, I haven't really gone to see him race at all. I don't know what he does for the most part. But I am curious. It looks like he's still counting out the way.
Yeah, I see those very deliberate steps being taken, so it does look like he is still counting something at the very least.
I'm just trying to tell exactly what he's trying to do. It looks like he's trying to do groups of 10 steps. Which, if he can do that, it's really impressive. Like, I generally step 2 or 3 steps, unless there are really well-defined terrain markers around me, in which case I can sort of blaze through them faster.
Yeah, it looks like in some cases he's able to just count visually, like if he's on, say, the tree tiles, where it's pretty obvious if you're walking over a set amount of tiles, you can just see it. But something more difficult to discern one tile from the next, like the desert or the plains, it looks like he is slowing down on.
No return spell, so Mr. Holmes has to walk out of the barriers. I wonder if he'll buy wings and start his count immediately.
It's not a foregone conclusion that he tries to count it out, though. That 90 south is not a very friendly number to see on this particular world map.
Yeah, when I see something like that, like one length really long and the other really short, I think, well, if I only have to go 16 west, it's pretty much just a straight line from there. Of course, the map might say otherwise. But...
Yes, that's always the issue. You can feel really confident about only one of the numbers being big until you walk into an ocean or a mountain range.
Now, I'm looking at Mr. Holmes going west and south, but yeah, I can't help but think he's just headed straight for the swamp cave.
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me.
Because he's not stopping at all.
And Game Boy got arrested by the fun police, so unless he had a very good reference point to continue his count, he's probably going to be heading for Swamp Cave himself now.
Oh, look at this! Mr. Holmes is going for the grave chest!
Doesn't want to leave any stone
I
left unturned.
suppose going for the grave chests isn't the worst play, because they're still so far ahead, or sorry, so far behind on the strength curve, that there's definitely going to be some grinding even after they have found all of the remaining ultimate equipment there.
Right, it just comes down to what enemies he finds in there. So far, pretty much all slimes, unfortunately, but it's headed down to a lower floor now.
Yeah, not exactly experience-friendly. And now we've got Goldmen, which are probably even worse than slimes in most ways. They're a lot tougher, but they only give you 6 points.
Oh, he gets the sword!
The sword right away.
I cannot believe it!
Wow.
So I am inclined to give a huge advantage to Mr. Holmes at this point, with the experience lead and the sword, and he's not behind in any way. I'm going to predict he's going to take this race, but you never know. We're going to have to see what Game Boy does as well. And of course, Mr. Holmes has to get the armor still.
And there is a chance he could also do a gold grind out of this as well.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with you right now, Card. And I think my reasoning is more the fact that, from what I know of Game Boy, he generally will seem to play the odds in most situations. So I don't think we'll even see him look for those 2 chests at the bottom of the grave until he's exhausted the option of the treasury in Sharlock. I think it's fairly likely we're going to see that, and that'll be even more time that he's without the sword.
Probably won't take too long, again, because of Hurtmore, and presumably he's going to find the armor soon and then go straight in. But yeah, we got to see how both players handle this long walk to the armor. We got to see who gets the princess. At this point, we're kind of I mean, I'm kind of figuring at the very least that they're both going to get the princess. But you never know.
Game Boy has actually gotten back to where he was killed by the Fun Police and looks to have resumed his count. So he definitely kept a very good handle on where he was, or at least I hope he did. And we don't find him search an empty tile.
Yeah, that's interesting. I actually didn't consider that a possibility of optimism. Like, when I start looking for the item on the ground, I just sort of don't expect to die on the way.
Yeah, it's typically not something that you have to worry about, but the moment the Fun Police show up, all bets are off.
It's all about the Fun Police, and in this particular seed, as well as many others, they are currently the only danger remaining besides the Dragon Lord.
So it looks like we will be getting one Princess Gwaelin right away.
MisterHomes managed to maintain just about the same experience lead as Game Boy was looking for the armor. So now getting the princess. With Game Boy's slightly slower walk, obviously MisterHomes will be able to walk there faster. They might get the armor at just about the same time, and then we'll see what happens from there. Should be very interesting.
Yeah, it is hard for me to judge, exactly how far along Game Boy is, but assuming his counting is relatively accurate, it will be pretty close, I assume.
I think he's getting close to the end of his count now. He is quite a distance from Tantagal now.
I think he's just looking at his count because he has to go around this body of water. He wants to make sure he doesn't mess it anymore.
Mini-boss.
A red dragon.
Yeah.
But he already has stop spell, so...
Yeah, with the stop spell, it's pretty good for him.
Mm-hmm.
Since he's healed more to cover any attacks the red dragon might happen to do.
Yeah, Holmes has already defeated Red Dragon, in fact, so not too big of a concern for him. Just going to be a longer fight. Although he is doing a lot more damage than he did the last time he fought one of these, so perhaps not as long as I thought.
So nice to pick up that sword. He's getting into reasonable damage range for enemies like this. I don't remember what sword he had before. He might have bought a broadsword before, I wasn't sure.
I believe the hand axe was the largest thing he had bought. I could be wrong, though. So Game Boy is walking around searching quite a few tiles right around the lake.
He knows he's in the right ballpark, at least.
Yeah, he's not totally confident with where he is, but he has the area. All he needs to do is survive the blue dragon. And he does defeat it. No MP for a heal more, but he could heal. He probably has herbs.
Moments like this can decide the entire race. Will he find it, or will he have to go back?
I don't think he exactly counted the last little bit of his walk there. He saw the lake and just probably basically assumed, based on where he was in his count, that it had to be on this coast on the other side. That's what it looked like he's searching there. But now he's going to walk back to his reference point, it looks like, and try to count it out from there.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Being very brave with the running from everything, but not healing at all. I know he did use a herb more recently, but...
MisterHomes saving as he drops off the princess. That was one thing back when I used to get the princess, that was one thing that I always did. And, it's a very, very small, it's only 2 seconds, but I kind of regretted it every time I did it, because it is extra time that I don't need to spend. But it's just the idea of safety, the perception of quick safety.
And you never know.
Like, Boy has elected to kill himself in this swamp because I don't think he's got enough hit points to walk out of it. And yeah, he just wants to to get back to the castle as soon as possible.
I wonder if he'll consider saving the princess at this point, or if he is confident with his counting.
Mr. Holmes has a clear lead for the armor, and again, that the same distance between experience has been maintained. It's still only a third of a level. It's not game-endingly significant, but it is a definite advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that Mr. Holmes will have all the items at the end of this will mean he will be able to focus on just leveling and not having to walk around.
Yes, while Game Boy, even once he does eventually get the armor, he's still going to need to find that sword, and with it, to his knowledge, statistically more likely being inside Sherlock, it could be a while before he searches the grave, and we're approaching a strength threshold where it's more efficient to level exclusively with physical attacks and heal more than it is to be consistently using a hurt more spell.
Right, so it looks like what's likely to happen is Mr. Holmes will probably grind in Hawksness until he feels he's ready, whereas Game Boy will go straight to Sherlock after the armor. Actually, was it in our seed, Jackamus? I'm not sure if it was ours, but I feel like it was, where we found a bridge that was not connected to any water. It was just sitting on land. I didn't actually know that was possible. I thought it would always connect, like, over water.
I'm honestly not positive if I saw a bridge like that or not during our seed.
Okay. Might have been a race, but it might have actually been a practice seed the same day for me.
Yeah, a lot of seeds, whenever you do a whole bunch of them in the same day, really can just get clumped together inside your memory.
Yeah.
So Game Boy is indeed checking out the grave. He will be very happy with his decision very soon.
Oh wow, he did go to the grave first. How about that?
It's going to definitely turn out to be the correct decision, so I'm sure he'll be very relieved to find that sword in that first chest. Actually, if he might even feel like he's ahead whenever he finds the sword there, because he might be thinking, this is where it kind of gets to, you think, overthink, you try to outgame the other player. It's like, all right, I know the sword is statistically more likely in Sherlock, but maybe I feel I'm a little behind, so I'm going to check the grave, because on the off chance the sword is there, I could pull ahead. We might be seeing something like that in action here.
Indeed.
Have to ask both of the racers about this afterwards.
Yeah, for sure. I can't deny
see why both of them elected to go back and look through these two chests that typically take a while to get to with monsters with not very good experience yield, whereas there's a group of 6 sitting at the bottom of Sherlock Castle that it's far more likely for the sword to be there, and there's better grinding on the way. So it'd be kind of good to see inside both players' way of thinking about that after the race when we get them in here for a little post-game interview action.
Looks like Game Boy was in pretty close to the right area, perhaps a little bit.
He was in the right ballpark for sure, but not on the right base.
Yeah, too far north.
Mr. Holmes is 8 steps away. I'll get it right away.
There's the armor.
You know what? Based on where we saw that armor, I think Game Boy stopped counting south at 80 instead of 90. Would be my guess in the mistake that he made, because I think that was exactly 10 south of the area that he was initially searching for it.
That would do it if that was just a mistake on his part. So now all Mr. Holmes has left to do is get the proper levels.
Yeah, that's the last bit on Holmes' agenda, and I would not be surprised at all to see him go straight to Hawksness and fight that very easy, repeatable Axe Knight for the necessary levels. And looking at his stats there, the only thing preventing him from finishing now is that low strength at only 52. We still need another 30 or so points of strength before we'll have a reasonable shot at fighting the Dragon Lord. Every other stat is plenty right now, though.
Right, and with this super high HP and MP plus whatever they're going to gain over the next few levels, I think another 30 or so experience will be the absolute maximum that before both players decide it's definitely time to go.
Yeah, I think you could go with a little less attack power than the standard 124. You could probably get away with 120, which would be a 5 to 10 range. I think you'd be able to do that with the assumed even higher HP and MP totals they'll have by the time they reach that level of attack.
People are asking about the silver shield. Apparently there's no gold chest in Tantagel, which will mean no grind location, so probably no shield.
Well, there was a gold chest in Tablet Cave, though it's a little bit out of the way. It's still in the Tantagel basement, so
so it depends on if they think of
a gold grind there, yeah. And honestly, looking at the defense level, it seems fairly likely that if one were to do a gold grind for that silver shield, you would defense break that Axe Knight very quickly, and then you could just walk on and off the tile, attack him, and never have to use any MP for healing at all. You could run out of hurt mores and then keep swinging away, and that thing will never kill you. Very, very fast grinding. So it could be worth it to take a 5 to 10 minute trip to do a gold grind and get a silver shield to speed up the experience grind afterwards.
Game Boy again giving it all he's got, skipping straight to grinding before getting the armor. I assume he didn't get it yet. So he knows that because the armor is the last thing he has to get, he knows that he can do this and then just get it right after and it won't change anything. And this will technically be better because he'll be stronger and safer on the way.
Yeah.
Technically by a very small margin.
It's not the worst decision to grind it out before getting the armor, although the lack of armor will necessitate more trips to and in between battles.
Yeah, I was more so thinking about a single MP drain, like maybe getting 1 or 2 levels in the process and then heading out for the armor. I just figured he got to Hawksmith on the way and thought, well, we can just do this for now. Both players still very close together in experience, but that armor is going to be significant. It is quite a walk.
Yeah, no matter what, if Game Boy chooses to either rescue the princess at some point or he chooses to just walk, no matter what, it is definitely going to take him a lot extra time.
That's the one thing. If he's grinding now, he better not grind to the very, very end point, because then he's going to have all that walking time where he's going to want to run from everything he encounters instead of gaining from them with time.
It looks like he is choosing to leave Hawksmith now.
Yeah, that's what I expected.
He's
a single drain of MP.
He's out of MP, so there's not much sense hanging around swinging away at an Axe Knight with strength that level.
Yeah.
Holmes did reach level 15, and there was a 9 strength boost on that. So that'll help. We're still about 20 strength away from where you'd want to be to fight Dragon Lord right now. But it's not inconceivable that that power boost could all come from one level. Or we could see a string of 5 or 6 MTI levels in a row too. Because I heard that happened to a couple unlucky folks there a few days ago.
Oh, shucks. Poor guys. Yeah, there's really no telling at this point. You can look to be super, super close, but yet the levels just don't give you what you're looking for.
Yeah, but as far as Holmes is concerned, that is the last thing to overcome before making attempts at the Dragon Lord. Just a little bit more, well, a lot-ish more strength, and he's good to go. Everything else is taken care of. And we've got Game Boy inside of Swamp Cave, so it looks like he is going to go rescue the princess after all, after his unfortunate failed count there. And I think whenever he does find where the armor is, he'll be able to realize exactly what went wrong on his count.
Right.
And for his sake, I'm hoping that he counted incorrectly and didn't mistakenly write the wrong coordinates down, because that sadly is something we have seen happen in a couple prior matches in the tournament.
Yeah, quite a few.
Yeah. Yeah, no matter what, whenever I write down the coordinates, I always take an extra second just to be sure they're correct. Because getting that wrong can be very detrimental.
Yeah, that is definitely the most important bit of information to get correct if you know that the token or the armor is on the map. You do not want to get your coordinates wrong, because that will cost you no fewer than 10 minutes to count incorrectly, or walk to the wrong destination and search fruitlessly a ton of squares around where you think it should be and have it not be there.
I completely agree, and I also always take a long, solid pause and just read over the text a couple times, make sure I have written it down correctly, got all the directions right now.
Yeah, I hold up my little piece of paper that I write my coordinates down, like, right next to the text box, just to make sure it says the exact same thing there.
So obviously Mr. Holmes with a big advantage now that's likely to be lasting. It's almost a full level now, but what we could hope for from Game Boy's perspective, obviously he doesn't know, but if we have some longer strength games to go, he might get a more efficient grind or something like that and just have it even out, but it's very unlikely by this point that there are going to be enough random factors to bridge the gap.
Though there's definitely plenty of scenarios that could happen where Game Boy will find a way to either equalize on experience or pull ahead or still be able to win the race. But it's impossible to argue Holmes is anything but the clear favorite at the moment.
Right.
There's still a lot of game left. There's still the Fun Police headquarters to walk through, and there's a huge difference in luck between both players in getting to the bottom of that. If the stats end up for a non-guaranteed Dragon Lord fight, but one where the odds are good enough that both of them decide to go, whoever just doesn't get that back attack or gets the higher rolls in the combat, someone could defeat Dragon Lord and someone could not. So there's still so much that could happen to really, I would say, concretely predict a winner, but for the moment, Holmes definitely is ahead.
And on the flip side, what would be most beneficial for Mr. Holmes would be an enormous strength game that would pretty much just seal it. All his stats are looking pretty solid, and basically the sooner he can get to Charlotte, the less likely it is that things are going to even out.
I believe he'll be hitting level 16, pardon me, right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see his strength.
Just 3.
Power of
Just
3.
3.
We will definitely be leveling on, and I think there were 0 MP gain there. You know, I bet someone might enjoy that quite a bit.
Well, MP is not too much of a concern at this point. At full MP, he does have 14 heal mores. The HP is at a point where you're probably going to see 2, possibly 3 double attacks over the course of a battle. Best case for Holmes is that when it's definitely go time for Dragon Lord, strength is 84 or higher, because then he's got a free fight. If it's less than 84, the player might not be overwhelmingly the favorite, like 99% chance to win the fight. That's not a situation that he'd be comfortable with seeing there. I mean, he obviously can't know that he's ahead right now, but it's hard to see a situation where he loses if the strength is ever 84 or above, and before that it's I would say below 78. If it gets into that 78, 83 range is where there's a possibility that luck in getting through Sharlock and in fighting the Dragon Lord could determine the outcome of the race, as long as Game Boy can keep his experience deficit close and not let that get any bigger than it currently is. Card in chat, we have someone by the name of Slim Chance asking us if we could summarize basically the outline of a Dragon Warrior Randomizer speedrun, since we're firmly in the grinding phase for both players. Perhaps not a bad time to take a couple minutes and just give a basic overview of that, if you would be so kind.
Sure. He didn't say Randomizer, but let's assume that he is talking about Randomizer for now.
It's topically appropriate, at least. Yeah.
So pretty much everything is randomized in this variant, but there are a lot of things that work in your favor early on. It takes in the version we play, each level only requires 75% the experience they normally would in the original game, and I think every enemy gives more experience than they do in the original game. Because of this, the early levels come really quickly. So the zone around the castle is purposely linked with just weaker enemies that you can usually kill right away. You also start with a complement of random spells, sometimes no spells, but every once in a while you'll start with Hurt or Hurt More, and you can really get things going from there. So yeah, you can start up your levels early. Sometimes you start with gold in the throne room, and you can find a town nearby and buy a weapon. Sometimes you don't start with anything and you just have to grind it out. Sometimes there'll be a cave nearby that'll have Erdrick's sword as its single solitary chest. Either way, there are lots of ways to get started, and it's really just a matter of taste and experience to decide what's best for you and what you think is most likely to generate success given the stats that you start with. You also start with random strength. Sometimes you start with, I've seen as high as 27 to start, and that means you can kill virtually anything in the starting zone in one hit, or maybe two. So yeah, when you get level ups, you're looking for, you want to get a heal spell so you can survive longer, you want to get hurt more so you can kill virtually anything. That really speeds things up. Then you want to find keys. I mean, basically the goal of exploration is to find all the locations and all the treasure chests, get all your key items. There are quite a few of them. You need to get Erdrick's sword, Erdrick's armor, Erdrick's token. You want to gold grind for a silver shield in the vast majority of cases. And you have to get the Stones of Sunlight and Staff of Rain to get the Rainbow Drop, which allows you to enter the final castle. So that's sort of a brief overview. Basically, getting started is the most important thing, and it's relatively easy to do, thankfully, in Randomizer. So once you get yourself started, you can really start exploring the map. You might be killed by a few things, but a few deaths aren't too big a deal. And then once you upgrade your weapons and armor, or if you have Hurt More, you can really just fight anything. It's all about getting through those caves and finding the key items in those chests. And then gradually working your way to the Dragon Lord. In the end game, you want to know how the Dragon Lord works. You want to know approximately what your stats have to be. A general average guideline is having somewhere around 85 strength or higher, somewhere around 104 MP or higher, at least 97 HP. If your HP is over 120, that gives you leeway, a lot of leeway, because you can survive double attacks from the Dragon Lord every once in a while. And then your agility, you want to be, I would say, somewhere in the mid-80s or higher, if you know they're red dragons in Sharlock, so that you can run from them. But again, that all comes from experience and personal preference. But yeah, that should give you a general idea of what's required. It's a pretty friendly game overall because of how easy it is to get started and how many seeds you will start with, where you just start with something powerful. Very often, the first enemy you kill will give you a level, and there are other things that can happen. You can find a metal slime very close to home and get 6 levels to start. Lots of possibilities.
That's a pretty good outline there, Card. Thanks for that.
Yep.
While you were explaining that, Holmes did reach level 17. He got 8 strength, putting him at 72. Not quite enough to be making an attempt, but he is very, very close now.
And Game Boy did find the armor. I guess now we're just going to see exactly what his next move is.
It's really hard to argue against grinding on that Axe Knight in Hawksness.
Yeah.
I do feel like that should be his decision.
Yeah, right now, Mr. Holmes would need an average of 36 attacks to kill the Dragon Lord, so even with the high stats he has, he's not happy with that right now.
Yeah, that's just a little too low. That's completely unacceptable. The only time you would ever instigate a fight with Dragon Lord needing that many attacks to win is if you are dead sure you're behind and your only shot to catch up is to kill the Dragon Lord with a couple castings of Hurtmore at, let's be honest, very unlikely odds.
Yes. So without a doubt, both players are just going to be looking at their strength stat as they look for growth. And both players are in the grind phase. Mr. Holmes has a full level lead, so obviously he has a big advantage. If it's going to be close, it's going to be the kind of thing where Mr. Holmes is going to decide to go at a very borderline level, where it's going to come down to the randomness of the fight or how many red dragons are in Sharlock, that kind of thing. For the most part, it looks like he's in a very commanding lead right now.
Mm-hmm.
No, they all seem quite nice ability.
Right now, I think Holmes is just 4 Axe Knight kills away from level 18.
Very
Looks
close.
about right. Math checks out. Obviously, the proper way to determine how is dividing the experience you need by the experience you receive from the enemy in Hawksness. Proper Dragon Warrior math.
Oh yeah, I forgot I would be typing on Sparkover.
It's okay.
Yeah, the 255 MP wouldn't be enough in that scenario. You would need really high agility to take low attacks from the Dragon Lord as well.
Mm-hmm. And we've got level 18 for Holmes, just a gain of 2 strength. Still, no, that's a 3 to 7 range. I don't think that you can go fight Dragon Lord quite yet, no.
It's worth pointing out that neither player has the Fighter's Ring as well. That's likely to be in Sharlock, so if it's just really, really small strength gains each level, I have no doubt that both players will at least check the treasure room to see if it's there.
They're at their strength is low enough where that fighter's ring does make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And especially if they get to how the damage works is against Dragon Lord 2, it takes your attack, subtracts 100, and then divides the remainder by 4 for the low end and by 2 for the high end, and all numbers are rounded down in this game. So basically, if your attack power is divisible by 4, the fighter's ring makes the biggest difference, because if you put on the fighter's ring and you get to a number that's evenly divisible by 4, you are getting 1 more entire damage per attack against the Dragon Lord. So for example, if they ended up with a strength of 78, that would be a 4 to 9 damage range, but if they found and put on the fighter's ring, they would shoot up to 5 to 10, and an extra damage and attack is quite a lot against Dragon Lord 2, where looking at their HP and MP totals, they can probably land, I would say, somewhere between 20 and 22 attacks on average with that staying power that they have right now.
And yeah, given both players' relatively high agility and really, really low strength, I'm not surprised that neither player seemed to even consider gold grinding for the silver shield. It's just not necessary. Both players can expect to gain a few more levels and even more agility on top of what they have already as a result. So yeah, as we were saying before, with low stat growth, even a God Seed like this produces a result of longer than an hour and a half as a result of the requirement of gaining so many levels in the endgame.
Yep. As per usual, it seems like most seeds that I see that have a very impressive early game, all of the items and equipment don't take too long to fight. You really start to feel good about, yeah, this could be one of those rare sub 1 hour seeds. Then you look at your strength stat and you have, I don't know, like 30 strength at level 15. It's like, oh, nope, time to grind.
Yeah, and especially if you start out with her more early, you might not even realize strength isn't going up too quickly because you're not even focused on it in the early game.
Absolutely not. No reason to ever use your attack commands early on if you have hurt more. Just losing time, taking longer to fight stuff.
Oh, that's a good point. Empty, I mentioned that the fighter's ring could also be in the bottom chest in Garen's grave.
No, that chest is unknown to us. We will never know.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Definitely possible for the fighter's ring to be down there.
We'll never know until McGrew tells us. Can't rule it out because neither player is going to go to the sword chest, regardless of whether or not the fighter's ring is downstairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's even less reason to go all the way through the grave for the fighter's ring. It's far more efficient to just gain a level to get to... You would assume it's fairly likely to gain at least 2 strength whenever you level up.
It doesn't always happen, but in those cases, MTI celebrates.
Yes, he does. Well, we've got Holmes closing in on level 19. He's just 3 or 4 kills away now. We'll see if level 19 ends up being the magic level or not.
Alright, just 2 more now. Or 3 more, I guess. Now 2 more.
Am I slightly ahead of you, I guess, maybe?
No, we're good. I just had a moment. You were right. It's 2 more now. Heal's not going to cut it, Mr. Axe Knight.
He needs to heal more if he wants it to be. But Axe Knight doesn't know. So here we go for the level 19.
29!
Oh my lord!
29 powers something by 7, and 2 stats with zeros. Everybody can love this level. There's something for everyone.
Yeah. Well, that's it. There's no reason that shouldn't do it. Holmes suddenly has enough attack power to reliably kill a metal slime in one hit without a crit. So, yeah. That's a really big strength gain.
All he needs to do is negotiate the closest town
Well,
before he goes to Sherlock.
what was it? Gowdenhelm was right beside Sherlock.
Right.
So if he remembers the way there, I assume he'll probably go through the swamp cave. Seeing as he could, if he is the MP, he does it the MP, he can find the swamp cave, cast him, and then he'll be right there.
It's going to be nearly impossible for Game Boy to catch up now. Holmes would have to have some very, very bad luck on the way down Sherlock. And on top of that, Game Boy would probably need to employ the level up on the way through Sherlock, preserve MP, and hope for a good strength gain strat. And I'm not positive if that's a risk that he would take in a race or not.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I might do something like that if I were closer, but you know, when you're still about 10 away or whatever, it's harder to try and justify that as opposed to if you're waiting for maybe 2 or 3 strength.
In a situation like this, with the agility, hit points, and MP already so high, I think there's an argument to be made that it is a reasonable strategy to try.
True enough.
But the deficit in strength is definitely significant at 18.
Oh, they were north of Sherlock. I didn't realize that's where it was.
Holmes very quickly going to stop at the inn in Garenham and going to dive right into Sherlock. And with that very impressive group of statistics all across the board, he should have no issues getting to the bottom whatsoever.
16 Healmores as well. He can use a lot of safety Healmores. He's only going to need 8 or so to feel comfortable against the Dragon Lord.
Well, with the high HP too, I think it's entirely possible that he wins the fight only casting Healmore 6 times even.
I agree.
Yeah,
There's gonna be quite a few double attacks in there. It's really hard to waste any of your healing from Healmore when you have 140 max hit points.
yeah.
The hit points are almost at the level where you can just cast Healmore at 50 hit points remaining and not have to worry about any overflow. Almost.
I've done that before. Honestly, if I'm on very high HP, but I am lacking maybe the Silver Shield, I'm not shy to heal at 50 health remaining.
I just look at my defensive power. I never look at agility. I sort of look at defense power and gauge it relative to which shield I have.
Yeah, end game you can figure out what your agility is pretty easily by looking at your defense. You're either going to subtract 50 or 40 if you have the large shield instead of the silver, and then double that number, and that's your agility.
MisterHomes not even caring that he radiants himself down to a lowly 15 Healmores.
He's also used Stop Spell on a red dragon, so he definitely knows he has MP to spare for the walk down, making it much easier and safer.
He could take this walk down, chanting hurt more on everything in sight, and still have plenty of MP left to beat the dragon with.
MisterHomes displaying a really, really strong race here. He's done pretty much everything right and very efficiently. And finding that sword in Garen's grave. That was something. Again, I really didn't think either player would go there first, but there you have it.
Yeah, both of them went there first.
Yeah,
I still want to ask both of them what they were thinking whenever they elected to take what could have possibly been a 2 to 3 minute waste of time to risk looking for the swords in somewhere it was statistically unlikely to be.
Indeed.
But yet they made the same decisions, which has made for a very interesting race.
Mm-hmm. They've made basically the exact same decisions the entire way through this race. The difference that we're seeing, though, is the one decision that they made differently did not pan out in Game Boy's favor. He wasn't able to count the coordinates out, and that's when Holmes really started to pull ahead on experience. Other than that, we're watching two almost identical playthroughs.
Right. Right, if Game Boy had found the armor right away, their experience was only about 600 apart at that point, and I think that would have meant Game Boy got the armor first. It would have been so close between the two of them.
We'd probably be watching them screen for screen the whole way through Sherlock, with the lead taken back and forth every single battle. Holmes not even bothering to check for the fighter's ring because he has 144 attack. There's no point.
Far too strong.
I think collectively, even though it did take a few levels more than usual to get to where we're at, I think this is overall the highest set of the four stats that I've seen in any seed of this.
Yeah.
All comfortably over 100.
Yeah, like they could have won with like a flame sword, for example. That certainly is possible at this point. It's interesting to see, like, if
they could have won. I think they could have won this Dragon Lord 2 fight with a hand axe. Because they'd still be swinging 5 to 10 with one of those, if my math is right.
And it's interesting to see Mr. Holmes go through this, gladly using stop spells on red dragons and stuff. And you think if the strength gain had been more marginal at this level, he might have felt like he had to go, and it could have been a huge risk running out of MP on the way.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't get to see anything like that. Instead, it looks like Mr. Holmes will get an easy victory here, as long as he doesn't make any menuing mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now the real boss is
the only thing that's going to stop him from winning this one now. As long as he can just stay relaxed and just get his menus done, he'll be completely fine.
Meanwhile, it looks like Game Boy is just about to hit level 19, so he will be making the same decision.
Yeah, we'll see him go into Sherlock very soon, so he should be done in anywhere between 4 to 7 minutes, depending on the encounter rate on the way down. Because there's absolutely no reason to fight anything. You'll just be running the whole way to the bottom.
So I haven't been paying too close attention, but Mr. Holmes will be getting close to beating the Dragon Lord, I'd assume. Usually I judge on how much MP people have left, but at this point we know he's not going to be using all of it.
Barely even used half of what he had going into the fight.
Yeah. Finishes with what? I think he had 55 MP left?
Mm-hmm. And
yeah,
I think he had 111 whenever free talk to the Dragon Lord. But yeah, there we go. Mr. Holmes is your winner tonight.
I'm the winner of the winner's side. Well done, Mr. Holmes.
Just one win away from being crowned the Dragon Warrior Randomizer World Champion.
So officially, we have a very interesting final three. We have Game Boy, who has surged to the top and has the highest win, like first place finish percentage of any player in the field. We have Jackamus, who, in my opinion, I have seen. I got to broadcast a lot of your matches, Jack, and I gotta say, you had some of the most flawless decision-making processes and really smooth races. So I consider you, as much of a favorite as anyone. And then finally, Mr. Holmes, the relative underdog in ranking, who has proven himself and is now undefeated and has the winner's bracket edge. So whatever happens, it's going to be very, very interesting. The next match will be yourself against Game Boy. And as I pointed out before, it's very important to note that any player could win these randomizers. There's so much randomness, and so many players are so close together in skill.
Hello.
Require quite a few tournaments.
Hello, hello.
Hello.
Hi, everybody.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
Congratulations, Mr. Holmes. Well done.
Thank you. How close were you on my tail?
I'm on the second floor.
Oh, okay.
Guys, you guys have to go and watch the replay of this race when you have some time, because I swear up until the moment where you both got the coordinates from Cantlin, you guys explored the map in basically exactly the same direction. You found every location within a minute of each other at most. It was almost like I was watching the same stream twice instead of a proper multi-twitch, but I know that wasn't the case.
That's kind of cool.
Very, very similar play between both of you the entire way through.
So what made the difference then?
I'm sorry, somebody's Twitch is playing at the same time.
Okay. Should I just stop streaming then? Don't think it's me.
It can't be you anymore, Mr. Holmes, because yours just ended.
Yeah, like my mic is muted anyway.
Oh.
I don't hear any feedback.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
All clear on this end too.
Oh, I don't know. Is it
Yeah,
me?
everything here.
Oh. It's me. It's me. It's my fault. Sorry.
No worries.
Well, that's funny though. I'm guessing Holmes probably grinding just a little bit better.
No, the main difference, as far as the way I saw the race, was Game Boy. You first attempted to count the coordinates out manually,
Yeah.
and I'm not sure exactly what happened, because you were in the right ballpark whenever you started searching. My guess was that you only counted 80 south instead of 90 based on where the armor ended up being, but you were at least in the right place, but you had to make a return trip to pick up the princess, and that's where you did start to fall behind on experience.
Yeah.
But other than that, very identical playthrough from the both of you.
Yeah.
Yes. As soon as I saw the coordinates, I figured, man, that's probably near like where Rimeldar is. I saw the 90 south, and I'm like, okay. But then I saw west. I'm like, man, it's going to be on that huge windy path. I'm not even going to attempt that.
Yeah. That's what I should have done.
Mainly because I didn't even know the way up.
But
Yeah. I'm so bad at it anyway that this was just like, nope. Oh, I was freaking out super hard when I didn't find Rimalder, though. I was just begging for keys, like, please. It was the last thing I found.
So were all the keys in Sherlock then?
Couldn't tell you.
Or the bottom?
It's possible that there was one at the very bottom of Garen's grave, but neither player checked that far down into the grave. So I think the remaining keys all most likely were just sitting in that Sherlock treasury, which no one checked because at that point there was no point. But that does bring me to something that I wanted to ask both of you. There was a point where the only two unknown chests outside of what was in Sherlock that you had were at the bottom of the grave, and both of you decided to look for the sword in those two chests rather than dive into Sherlock, where it was statistically more likely. And I wanted to hear from both of you why you made that particular decision in this race there.
He was on the way.
Yeah. Yep. Pretty much.
So yeah, like if you're talking about between those two chests and I guess the one in the tablet cave that was in the basement, because I looked in there too.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking, about a 30% chance. Like, man, that would really suck. And I still don't know. It's just the not wanting to miss it, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I basically I took my chance. I'm like, I'm gonna look here, and then I found it. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to grind now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I don't know if it was right, but it was just what I felt safe doing.
I think that was probably the correct play. Yeah.
Well, it very clearly worked out for both of you whenever the very first chest that you found after opening the locked door was Erdrick's sword. So hard to complain whenever it ends up working out.
Mm-hmm.
Are you still walking? Are you still fighting the Dragon Lord?
No,
Game
I'm
Boy?
done.
Okay.
Just about all over.
Oh, I just didn't see you.
I find it amusing that you finished the fight with 79 MP left, Game Boy, because I've had fights against the Dragon Lord where I've had less MP than that, instigating the battle.
Yeah. I was so nervous when
Final victory
I got that.
time 6 minutes and 46 seconds. Solid victory.
Probably a little less than that though.
Hmm.
Based on, I don't think Game Boy stopped it right away. Or unless you did.
No, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Game Boy
No.
also paused in Sherlock a little.
Yeah.
When you said you were done, I thought you were done.
Oh.
Not just almost done.
No. I had to clock in.
I almost hit the done button premature. I forgot about the princess for a second. And then I panicked and I hit, instead of hitting enter, I hit the L button, type .dunnel.
Dunnel.
Yeah, I saw you type Dunnel. So I apologize to both Card and Jackamus. This was not a 3.5 hour seed. Sorry.
Well, when I saw the power, I was like, oh, maybe. Like, yeah, we're only at like 40 power at level 14.
You'd probably have to go to level 30 to get enough power to fight Dragon Lord for this to even approach 3 hours. You guys had a very, very nice grind spot in Hawksness.
So about that, I was kind of nervous. Like, okay, so we did it at level 19, right? If I'm not forgetting.
Yes, it was.
And at level 18, I was like, man, like we have 16 heal mores and a boatload of HP. I knew we weren't ready yet. But what I did know is that, man, if we get like 6 power, it's probably going to be really close. And so I thought, man, should I grind on my way down? And then I thought, well, no, that's not a good idea. Because if I grind on my way down, I'm going to have to run from some stuff. And what if the level's only 2 power? Then I just wasted a lot of time grinding in a suboptimal spot.
When they're red dragons with sleep, that's an enormous factor you have to take into account. And you saw how much you used the stop spell on the way down to be safe. Like, I think it would have been way too dangerous in that setting.
Yeah, if you're going to try the grind on the way down stats, you bare minimum need to have a silver shield on your person, and being an agility build also helps a lot, because grinding on the way down is about preserving that MP stat. So you need to defense break as many monsters as possible for that to be a viable option.
Yeah, so, but our defense was pretty high, wasn't it? Was it like 90 something?
We had like,
I think you guys finished with 92 defense without a silver shield. So
okay, so you're not defense breaking anything important.
Well, all the stats were completely outrageous in this seed by the end of it.
Yeah, the only thing we would have been defense breaking down there would be probably like green dragons and werewolves and wizards. But that's not enough.
No.
Oh.
Meanwhile,
I had a few.
Oh, I'm sorry. Meanwhile, the oh crap department, Cleveland's losing 6-3.
No.
Is it still going?
Yeah, it's still going. It's the bottom of the 8th.
Only the bottom of the 8th.
Man.
3 hours already. What happened?
Yeah, well, dude. I mean, it's like 22 degrees outside, 23 degrees. I mean, it's a wonderful day. Might as well just take your time, play the game. 23 degrees Celsius. It's 73 Fahrenheit. It's crazy.
I will admit,
I think
if
more
I
than
had it,
so many years past, like this is one World Series where I really just don't want to see either team win it.
no, I'm a Blue Jays fan living in Canada,
Right.
but
Sure.
I don't hold any grudges for Cleveland beating them, so that's not the reason. But I really like Joe Madden as a coach,
Mhm.
and I got a treat to watch him in Tampa Bay just completely turn their team around.
Yeah.
And so for him, I think it would be nice to see him win, but I'm not gonna lose any sleep if they don't win.
I will tell you that if the Cubs weren't playing Cleveland or my other team, the Baltimore Orioles, I would be rooting for the Cubs. So I mean, you know,
Yeah.
I hope
just
they're
happen
on
to
the
be that they're
baseball randomizer.
yeah yeah we can do a little MLB randomizer.
Maybe that's the next big thing after this.
How would that even work?
Tecmo Bowl randomizer. Oh yes.
QB Eagles with like Bo Jackson speed.
Yeah, right.
That would be something.
That's brilliant. Oh man. So congratulations, Mr. Holmes. You're in the grand final.
I'm still in shock, dude.
Yeah.
It's like
I everybody's told everybody else the seeds don't matter. They don't. You have definitely. Yeah, there's no doubt you deserve to be in the grand final. I would
You
tell you.
deserve a much higher rank than you have currently. No.
Yeah.
if I had time to play more, I would.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I knew with the way the map was, and I didn't feel like I explored it great, but I feel like I explored it adequately.
Yeah.
And I knew based on how windy it was and how far some of the critical stuff was that I had a chance. I didn't feel ahead, but I didn't feel behind. And so I was just focused, just do your thing, try to make as many optimal decisions as possible. I kind of waffled on a few different things. Like just simple things. Like when I was in Hawksness, I couldn't decide whether it was more efficient to just death warp or to walk to coal. And I kind of did both. But those are just minor things.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're pretty close, but I think death warping was a bit faster.
Yeah. Did you enjoy beating up all these specters? Anybody count how many specters I killed?
I didn't have a ton. I mean, I had a couple bursts of them, but by far my early game preference was werewolves, which was ballin'.
Yeah, I couldn't find werewolves. I had a couple early kills to the armored knight. That didn't make me feel good.
Did the Indians just score a run?
Did they? I don't know. Oh yeah, so
I
they
want
did.
to watch the last inning now.
Oh,
yeah, double. So it's 6-4 now.
6-4. Well,
extra innings.
Yeah. Well, Chapman just relieved Lester, so
I always hope for extra innings. I hope the game goes like 50 innings. Seriously.
And just like the second base.
Penalty likes overtime. It was somebody.
Well, there were a couple of Blue
like,
Jays games this year where they had position players pitching.
Oh yeah, I remember a couple of those.
Ryan Goins was pitching, and someone else was too. I forget who it was. I think it was against the Indians actually.
Yeah,
they had like
it was.
Yeah, there's an 18 inning round or something like that.
Goins pitched the 18th, and I think it was maybe Darwin Barney pitched the 19th inning.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And then the game after that was like 17-1 for the Blue Jays or something ridiculous.
Right.
There were two
Yeah.
ridiculous games in that series. They got their revenge for losing that extra inning one.
Mm-hmm.
Could you imagine how pissed off you would be? Like to lose a game like that? Like in hockey, losing a game that goes to like 4 overtimes, you've been playing for like 6 hours.
Right.
It's like, oh my God.
Well, to be fair, I think at the highest professional level, the salary might kind of soften the blow for losing a long game like that.
You don't get paid anymore.
And bases are surrounded by swamp.
Oh, I don't know about you guys, but as I was walking towards the coordinates, I was so hoping it would be in that giant swamp area.
Oh, yeah.
Just missed it. Just missed it.
Yeah, not quite. I don't know when the finals are going to be scheduled. We'll have to have a chat with Mr. Holmes, Jack, and I.
So what are we going to do? Are we just going to have them all on the same day? Like possibly 3 matches or?
Well, that's the hope, but I mean,
Okay.
I don't know. Not unless we get
I think
another.
if we were to do everything in one day, that'd be the ideal way to do it.
Yeah.
But it'd probably be good to try and find a day where we're all available for a good, solid 10-hour period there, so we can. Because I mean, let's face it. Between myself and Game Boy, who are going to be facing off in the losers final there.
That's right, Jack.
Either one of us could have to play up to 3 randomizers in a row if we keep winning at this. And there's going to be, need to take a break in between potentially 3-hour game after 3-hour game if it ends up that way.
Oh gosh.
And if
I'm just being devil's advocate here, so that we're aware of how much time we have to potentially set aside if we're going to do this thing all at once, right?
Yeah,
we
well,
can deal with those details later.
It's either that or we play it safe and we just do losers final and then do grand final a little bit later.
That could be the more sensible way to do it. If we can't, find a time or a day where we're just all free for a long enough time to do it all at once.
Right.
Oh, another run.
Oh, really?
No, it's tie game. It's tie game.
Tie game. Wow.
Why am I not watching this game?
I don't know. I don't know, Card.
Maybe we should quickly end the call here unless there's anything else we needed to go over.
It's going to be my Dream World Series. 50 innings incoming. Game 7. Can you imagine anything more epic for Game 7?
Yeah, I know. It's amazing.
Scrambling, trying to decide what to do. It'll be unprecedented.
How about 50,000 innings and they're still playing the end of this game at the start of spring training next year?
I love it.
Oh, well then, we'll probably finish the second Dragon Warrior Randomizer tournament by then.
Maybe.
All right,
my God.
cool.
Well, thank you guys so much for such an entertaining race. Look forward to the final 3.
Yeah. Once again, Mr. Holmes, congratulations. Grand final.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Way to go.
Cheers.
Yeah,
Cheers.
Congratulations, Holmes.
Thank you.
But you got to watch out. Both me and Game Boy are gunning for you, but we're also gunning for each other there. It's like a Mexican standoff.
Well, think with it. Well, Jack, if you beat me, we'll have a all-Canadian grand final.
I'll watch out for someone
Isn't that really
breaking
bad
my
for
legs.
TV ratings, though?
Well, nah, I'd watch. I'll watch. All right, Betty, thanks for the race, and hopefully, Mr. Holmes will go at it again.
I can assure you I will.
All right, very good.
Take care, everybody.
All right, take care.
Until the next race, have a good night, everyone.
Peace out.
Yeah, goodbye, everybody. Thank you to JLo for running the show. Thank you to Jacquemus and S. Cardinality for helping me do the commentary. And I suppose that will be it.
And thank you to my work for allowing me to leave early enough to get in on the start.
Definitely.
I think we have to give your employer the title of unofficial sponsor of tonight's match. Take care, and everyone remember to follow both of the runners. I'm assuming someone's linked to them in the chat room by now. You folks have a great night.